unfortunately, a lot of people don't start to love and accept and respect their body until it no longer functions the way they want it to. And I don't think we should wait till that moment. I mean, if you've ever had an injury, you know, like, oh, I'm never going to take using my hand or using my leg for granted. But then you do. And we do as women every time we compare ourselves to somebody else. Oh, I wish I had her butt. Oh, I wish I had her arms. Well, guess what? You can't physically have somebody else's body.
Welcome to the Be It Till You See It podcast, where we talk about taking messy action, knowing that perfect is boring. I'm Lesley Logan, Pilates instructor and fitness business coach. I've trained thousands of people around the world, and the number one thing I see stopping people from achieving anything is self-doubt. My friends, action brings clarity, and it's the antidote to fear. Each week, my guests will bring bold, executable, intrinsic, and targeted steps that you can use to put yourself first and be it till you see it. It's a practice, not a perfect. Let's get started. All right, loves. This guest we have today is back. This is her second time and will not be her last time. I'm absolutely obsessed with what this woman is putting out in the world to support all of us, every single one of us. Ladies, especially us. But her name is Jenny Schatzle. If you don't know her, you're going to fall in fucking love with her just like I did. She is a powerhouse. She's incredible. And she is here to help us all break the cycle of how we are talking about bodies, especially how about our bodies, because all of our actions get passed down to the people around us. And we are more than what our bodies look like. And if you're like, yeah, and you nod your head, but then you find yourself, not put on the bathing suit, or which we'll talk about in the podcast, or at home, the holidays, and someone says something about your body and that makes you upset. Like, we were not given the tools to address that in a way that is supportive. And in this podcast, Jenny Schatzle is not only going to give you the tools, she's going to share with you how she used it. And I'm just so incredibly grateful for this woman in my life. And I'm excited for her to be back in your ears. If this is the second time you heard about her, great. You're going to love all the things we talked about. Again, it's a great reminder. And if this is your first time, get ready to fall in love. Just feel so supported. And I hope that you check out her first episode. We'll put that in the show notes as well, so you can go back and listen to both of those and just be on a Jenny Schatzle binge. And I promise you, you will feel so great, and you'll be so aware of the thoughts that you're thinking about your body. Anytime I ever have a thought of negative about my body, I actually think, like, if Jenny Schatzle was here, would I say that out loud? No. So then I don't get to say it out loud. So anyways, you guys, here is Jenny Schatzle. All right, Be It Babe. I'm freaking stoked because I know we're all about to go to basically the best kind of church we could all go to, which is just listening to Jenny Schatzle remind us all that we're so freaking worthy and we need to change the conversation and break the cycle. Jenny Schatzle, will you tell everyone who you are and why you rock at all of that stuff?
Yay. Well, that's a great introduction right there. Hi, everyone. Jenny Schatzle. I'm so excited to be here. And yeah, I'm on a mission to help women change the conversation around body image. So we can not only show the younger generation how to do it, but we are the ones who model it every day by breaking the cycle and unlearning all the toxic bullshit we learned growing up.
Yeah.
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 That's what we're here to do.
And Jenny, I thought for a couple of years that it felt a little bit like the rest of the world was kind of getting down with this, like the magazines and things were getting down with this. And now they're back to what they were before. And I'm like, I think it's because their magazines aren't selling, which is not because of what their titles are. I get quotes all the time, or get asked for quotes all the time. And one of them is like, can you tell me how to get Miley Cyrus's arms in 5 exercises? And I'm like, no, she is 31. Even if you did Pilates like her, which my friend teaches her, 4 hours a day, and had her nutritionist and her chef, you still won't have her arms because hormones are real, age is a thing, and you're not Miley Cyrus. And why are you asking me this question? And so I get really annoyed because even my team's like, hey, here's some things that will do well with SEO, which is like 17 butt exercises to sculpt and tone your butt. I'm like, I don't ever want to tone anyone's butt. I don't want to ever talk about that. But it's unfortunate, like it's this thing where like, that's what the machines want experts to put out, because that's what people are clicking. And how do people like you and people like me get people to hear that we need to change the conversation when that's not what they'll click on?
100%. And it's hard. I'm not gonna lie. Fitness and diets sell, they don't work, but they sell. That's why they keep selling. So a quote I will give you to give them is, when somebody asks, can you tell me how to get so-and-so's arms? You can say, if we all ate the same and worked out the same, we would still look different.
Yeah.
And the days of us trying to look like other people, I want to acknowledge that it's us disrespecting and giving up what we do have. So a lot of us have very able, healthy bodies. And on a daily basis, we're disrespecting that. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't start to love and accept and respect their body until it no longer functions the way they want it to. And I don't think we should wait till that moment. I mean, if you've ever had an injury, like, oh, I'm never going to take using my hand or using my leg for granted. But then you do. And we do as women every time we compare ourselves to somebody else. Oh, I wish I had her butt. Oh, I wish I had her arms. Well, guess what? You can't physically have somebody else's body. You weren't born with it. You weren't meant to have it. I believe I'm this person in the middle, but a lot of my message does get construed like it's not black and white, right? Like people think I'm anti-diet, but I don't think like you can still want to change your body and lose weight. I don't think that's bad. We just need to have the conversation of why. And when we're giving up, a really old saying, which I love so much, is don't give up 95% of your life to weigh 5% less. I don't know who originally said it, but it's a very meaningful because for a lot of us, weight loss, we think if I just, and I've said this before on your podcast, if I just lost this last 10 pounds, then I'd be happy. If my arms were just a little bit toner, if my stomach was flatter. And we know that isn't really going to make us our happiest person. And a lot of us are waiting to live our best lives when we lose weight.
Yeah.
But then we lose weight and it's just never enough. And the body's still never good enough. So my take on it is when you learn to actually accept the body that you have today, that's when you start taking the best care of it.
Yes. Oh, okay. All that. Yes. And I think it's interesting. We do take things for granted when they're working well because we're looking at someone else's lawn and, thinking that I want that. It's going to be greener over there. It's going to be easy over there. I was talking to someone earlier today who wants on their podcast, and she was telling me how she went to her Pilates class and she was having a really hard time because she couldn't do exercise like everyone else. And I said, well, you won't look like everyone else. And I don't know who your teacher was, but I hope that they weren't explaining to you that you're going to look like everyone else. You also just started. So you are a beginner. And why can we not allow ourselves to be beginners at things? Why are we expecting ourselves, I got to look like that person over there. I'm not good enough. It's like, no, you just started. So it's all these things that we keep comparing ourselves to others, even when we're new. We should be giving ourselves the most grace.
And I'm going to add to that. We always say in our gym, so I do own a gym. And we don't do Pilates. We are, I like to say we are like a one-stop shop, except for, I shouldn't say that because we don't do Pilates. We don't do Pilates. We don't do yoga. We do cardio. We do strength training. We have what we call like burn days, power days. Anyway, it's a cardio, strength. I always say, don't compare your day one to somebody else's day 300. But on top of that, just in the world, it's so crazy that we will sit there and compare ourselves. I always make jokes like Sally Joe Mo down the street, who you think is so thin and so beautiful, but who knows? Sally Joe Mo's drinking a bottle of vodka every night because she's crazy unhappy in her marriage. She hates her body. She's disconnected from her family. Like you have no idea how anybody else is living. And we assume these things based on the way that people look. Like I say this a lot too. New listeners, if you haven't listened to me before, I'm brutally honest. I don't hold back. And I know a lot of very rich, thin, beautiful women who I wouldn't trade lives with for millions of dollars. They are extremely unhappy. And I'm not saying that every rich, thin woman is. I'm just trying to bring up the point that you have no idea what's going on in other people's lives. And just based on, somebody's arms or flat stomach, doesn't necessarily mean they're doing it right. Also, genetics play a huge role in our bodies.
Yeah.
There's like a TikTok thing. My husband brought it up. It's so funny going around. It was like, these 20-year-old influencers, which I'm not talking smack on anyone, but it's like, no, show me a mom who's got, a mom with kids. And just like all the things like we don't, an old saying used to be, we all have the same 24 hours in a day. That's bullshit. You ever spent a day with a mom who's got a disabled kid? Have you ever spent a day as a single person or as a mom or a mom without a partner or a mom with a partner? Like we do not have the same 24 hours in a day. We don't.
No, you're 100%
What
correct.
we choose to do with our 24 hours is up to us. But comparing ourselves, like I don't have the same life at 44 with 6-year-old twins and a husband that's gone a lot, but I still have a husband that's going to come home and he's all in and he's an incredible partner compared to a single mom who doesn't get the help, who has no family in town, or a 24-year-old who's got a part-time job, who's a trust fund kid, or a 24-year-old who is barely making it and works 6 jobs. Like we all have such different circumstances that we can't compare. We got to stop comparing our days and our time.
Yeah. The other day, my husband was gone for an overnight and I was like, wow, I got so much done today because I wasn't interrupted. I wasn't really saying something like, I don't even have the kids or the demanding things or anybody who needs me more than a regular adult would need me. Like I just have a husband who works with me and comes in my office at random times. I'm like, you're interrupting me. So it's true.
Yeah.
But we all think we're supposed to be further along, thinner than we are. And everyone else has it better. And if we just had this, and that sentence, like when I have, or when this happens, like those phrases, if you ever hear yourself saying them, that should be like a red light to take a pause because you are not appreciating what's in the present and accepting what you have and what you can do. I like to tell people that it's brave and courageous to replace what you can't do yet with what you can. Because there's a lot of Pilates exercises that I teach in a class because it's an all levels class, which means I have to hit the advanced people too. And what I say is, if you're not ready for this exercise yet, you're going to replace it with something that was a challenge for you. And you're going to remind yourself it's brave and courageous to do something different in this moment, but also in every moment. It's actually the coolest thing to be the different person in the room. Everybody thinks that person is actually doing really cool things. That, the people who become super awesome and super known aren't doing it because they were the same as everyone else. They did something to disrupt.
And just if we're talking in the gym setting, because I've been in it as you have for a very long time.
Yeah.
And, I'm 44 years old now and my body, it hurts. You think it's not going to happen to you. My knees hurt, my hip hurts. I say I'm the captain of the mod squad. I own a gym and I'm the one doing all the modifications in the gym setting. And I'm just going to be brutally honest here. Nobody gives a shit what you're doing. Right? Like nobody's actually watching you. Everybody's thinking 100% about themselves. I always joke in our gym, people are they don't care. We have people who walk, we have people who run, and we have people who run really fast. If you're walking next to a person who's running fast, the person running and the person walking is not thinking about, oh my gosh, this person's going so slow. They're thinking, when do I get off the treadmill? Right? They're thinking, when is this exercise over? When are we moving on? Like, when can I do? Nobody's watching you thinking that person is doing a terrible job.
Yeah.
And that's just the story in our head. So many people always say, like, oh, I want to come take a class. I'm just scared. Or I need to get in better shape before I come take a class. I'm like,
they say that to us too. They're like, I have to be in better shape to do Pilates. I'm like, okay.
I always say saying that is like saying you're too dirty to take a shower. I always like to remind everyone, why do we talk ourselves out of doing what we know is going to make us feel good? Right? Like when you're done with your Pilates, you feel so good. When you're done with a workout in my class, you feel so good. And yet we will sit and we will talk ourselves out of it because why? Because we're scared of what other people think, because we don't like the size of our body, because we think we can't do it. And before we've even tried, and you can't create a new habit if you don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
And so this goes for all things. Like I tell people, if you say, oh, I just want to start walking, you have to actually start walking and you got to do it. Go 10 minutes for five days.
Yeah.
Do 15 minutes of Pilates for 20 days in a row and see how it feels. Like you have to start. And that goes for the same as I would say working out. And then the lifelong, I think everybody's like, I want to get more sleep, but you're unwilling to turn off the TV.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So you have to start. Like one of my big tricks, and I'll go back to what you said too. I like to give really easy, actionable tools because it's like anything. Like you can listen to a motivational speech or a motivational podcast and you feel great, but then you're just like back to your normal life. Right. So it's before what you said with like when you start comparing yourself or talking down to yourself, I tell people, stop, put your hand on your heart and breathe in. We're going to do this together. Ready? Everybody's listening. Stop right where you are. Put your feet on the ground. Sit up straight. Relax your shoulders. Put your hand on your heart. And I want you to breathe in for 5. Ready? Breathe in. Go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now hold. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Breathe out. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now we're going to do it one more time. And you're just going to breathe in and you're going to breathe out. But when we breathe in, I want you to say here. When we breathe out, I want you to say now. Ready? Breathe in here.
Here.
Out now. So when we do that, we get back into our body. So we can remind ourselves, I am here now. And then how do you want to move forward? When we're starting to spiral in comparison, or that we're not good enough, or that maybe we shouldn't go when we know we really do want to show up, stop and do that. Take a breath. It's 5 in, hold 5, out 5. And then one more where you say here now.
That's beautiful.
My other tool, I know, right? So good. My other tool is I'm a big component of, I've never been technically tested or whatever. I have ADHD, I have all the things, right? Like I can't focus. It's why I'm in the fitness world. I get to be loud and dance around and listen to music and meet new people. And
you can be doing 7 things at a different time because everyone's doing over here. And I'm here.
100%.
Brad and I are both undiagnosed.
Yes. It's where I thrive. Like I thrive in chaos. Like for me to even sit and like do that, like for me to sit still is very hard. I thrive in chaos. Anyway, so I have to set timers for myself. So for me, one of my big things is like, I am a mom, I have kids. It's like my alone time is at night. It's also where I do things that don't serve me, like stay up too late, watching TV, I need sleep. So but I also don't believe in drastic like takeaways from your life and things that like, it does make me happy to lay in bed and watch TV. And so I set timers now. I'm like, okay, I'm going to watch TV. Either I'm going to watch an episode for whatever it is, 30 minutes or an hour. Okay. And then after that, I set a timer for 20 minutes and I read and then I go to bed. So I'm doing one thing I enjoy, and I also enjoy reading, but reading before bed also helps me sleep better.
Yeah.
So it's not like I'm telling myself you can't watch TV, but also I don't want to watch. I mean, I do want to watch 3 hours of TV, but it doesn't serve me, right?
Every time I've stayed up late to watch that, I'm like, I'm just going to finish this. I regret it the next morning. Like, why didn't I just space that show out 3 nights?
Always. And it's not like watch it the next day, but I do have to cut myself off. So like, if I know the show's 45 minutes, I will literally set a timer and the timer goes off at the end. I'm like, okay, I need to turn it off because I need like a tool that's going to actually make me do it.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
It totally makes sense.
I use that for everything in my life. If I have to study for something, if I have to clean the kit, you've seen on my Instagram, I do a lot of the 10-minute cleanup. I'm a pretty messy person, if we're being honest. But I like to clean house. So I set a timer for 10 minutes. I clean up as much as I can, and then I walk away. And it takes me usually longer, but at least it gets it started. Anyway, I think setting a timer to do things is really helpful.
We have kitchen timers around this house for everything because I was just, before this interview, I was on a call with my assistant and she's like, so-and-so wants to make sure that this is going to get done. I'm like, well, you can tell so-and-so that there was no time in the calendar for me to do that. And I'm going to do it. And it's going to get done. When I get it done, I'll have it to her by Monday, which gives me like 3 days. But when I go to do that thing, I always set a timer for 15 minutes and everything's on do not disturb. And there's actually a study that if you have a visible timer near you, you actually stay more focused. And for someone like me with undiagnosed ADD, it's really helpful because believe it or not, I can even write that newsletter in 15 minutes because I am so focused. I'm like in it. I'm thinking of the person that's going to help. But if I'm like, oh, I'm going to sit down and then in this hour I have my time, I can write my newsletters. I'll take the whole hour because everything will take the time we give it. So setting a timer for a project also allows you, if you have multiple things to do that day, you can at least get them started. You can do 10 minutes of pickup and then timer goes up. Okay, now I'm going to do 10 minutes of getting back to people on these emails. You're never going to clean out the inbox, but you're at least going to feel like you got something done and you move the needle forward in your day. So we're big fans of timers around here.
I love that. Same. Yeah. That's one thing that has actually really changed my life.
Yeah. And I also messy, not dirty. There's a difference. Like Brad's like, can you just do something about your socks? And I'm like, I just take them off wherever I am like that. I'll get them later.
I love that. It's funny. We laugh a lot and we all have different things, right? Like I'm pretty messy at home, but in the gym, I'm like crazy about the weights being stacked and the gym being super clean. It's pretty funny. People give me a hard time about it. But yeah.
Okay. One of the other things I love about you is we're both fast talkers. We can get to a lot in a little bit of time. You have 2 daughters. They crack me up. You're so big on making sure that they are protected from hearing like terrible words. And something that you probably don't know is that around Thanksgiving, you post a thing about like ways to, handle rude or weird comments at the holidays and like also like how to handle those conversations. And in my coaching group, our size diverse coach actually took that post and put it in her channel as like, hey guys, this is that time of year where our clients say weird things. They're nervous to go home. Here's some things you can arm them with. So for our listeners who, haven't gone back yet into, your guys are going to binge on her Instagram. Before I hit play on this interview, I watched what you posted about pink and I just cried. What are your things to help make sure that those family members around us who are not on board with like what the lifestyle we want to live, how do we protect their terrible energy from harming our kids and even ourselves when we are like trying to live in this new place where we love the body that we have?
Jay, I feel like I've been trying to get this question asked in all podcasts, and you're like the first person to ask this. I'm so excited to talk about this. Thank you. Yeah. So, and I am really big on honestly talking to moms about body image. So one thing I want to say too is, yes, I'm trying to protect my kids, and also it's impossible. My kids obviously don't have phones; they're 6, but they're going to grow up with phones, social media, the media in general. Because people will say to me, "Well, how are you going to keep them from hearing this message out in the world?" But the stronger the message is at home, the stronger the base they have, and that is the goal. And again, it's not bad to tell your kids that they're pretty, because I've had people message me and say, well, nobody ever said I was pretty. Nobody ever. And I'm like, oh, I see that too. But we don't use like when my kids come out and they say, do you like my outfit? Or anytime they walk out, we always say, oh, you look so powerful. How do those clothes feel on your body? And they're like, good. So it's just kind of slightly changing the conversation. Or they say, how do I look? And I'm like, you look powerful. How do you feel? And so just having these slight interactions at home, we don't first saying, oh, you look so pretty. That's not what we start with. And also every holiday I do post, for the most part, and this isn't in every family, but for the most part, commenting. I'm very big on commenting on people's bodies, and that we don't do that anymore. And this even goes women to women, friends to friends. But a lot of times, especially around the holidays, going back home, I want a lot of people to know that most people don't do it to be mean. It's what is ingrained in them, and it's what they know. So even asking somebody if they've lost weight is really triggering for a lot of people. And that person, your mom or your aunt or your cousin, they think you're giving a compliment. And I want to remind people that it's not a compliment. Okay. It's not only triggering, but underneath it all, it's telling us so many things. One, if somebody's like, oh, have you lost weight? We're getting this internal message that this person who just said that, they are paying attention to our body. They are paying attention to what we look like. And so, I mean, I always say, have you ever had somebody tell you you've lost weight, and then the next time you saw them, maybe you've put some weight back on, and all you can think about is, oh shit, they're going to notice, right? Because we remember those things.
Yes.
And we remember the person, our body is of value to them because they have now told us that they recognize and are paying attention to the size of our body. And so I think a lot of us, we don't think about that. And I always say, I'm not trying to be right. I'm just trying to create awareness, because so much of this language around bodies is ingrained in us. And so a couple of years ago, before I went back, I live in California and I'm from Minnesota, and I sent a text to my family. And because I do this for a living, and my family very much still talks about body. And I grew up in a body obsessed family. And then I went into the fitness world. So it continued very strongly. And I said to them, basically, and I did post on my Instagram, but basically how we talk to our family is come from love, not from anger. Because the minute you start blaming somebody and pointing the finger, like, you said this, you can't say this around my kids, people's walls come up and they get very defensive. And we're trying to actually really create change. So we want to have very heartfelt, open conversations. So I always start with, this is what I've struggled with. I've struggled with my body my entire life, and I'm really trying to change that for my children. That's number one. So I put out what I've struggled with, and that I, as the mother of my children, am trying to change it for my children. Two, I ask for their help. So I'm going to ask for your help in this because you are a really big part of my children's lives. So I include the family in, right? Like you are important. My kids are listening to you. They look up to you. And so I'm hoping that you'll help me in this. And what I'm asking is, please don't make any body comments about my body, my children's bodies, other people's bodies. You can do whatever you want when I'm not around, but when I'm there with my children, could you just please respect that? And then on the third, I say, I love you and we're all trying to get better. And just, I really appreciate your help in this. So I first talk about my struggles. I then ask for their help with which also putting a little prompt in like, you're a big part of this. I love you. My kids look up to you. And then thanking them. And it has been really successful.
I love it because it's you take the responsibility and you invite people. People always want to be asked to help. People always want to feel like they're participating in a positive way. And also people want to do it right. So if you tell them what not to do, that's not the same as telling them what to do. So Joseph Plies would never tell anyone what not to do. He would never say don't in a session. You would never hear him say, that's not right, don't do that. He would only tell you what to do. And so that's exactly how I teach people in Pilates, but that's exactly what you're saying here. It's like, you're not telling your mom, hey, you used to talk badly about my body. It made me really self-conscious and I don't want you to do that around my daughters. That's not helping her understand what she can say around them or like what is possible. And of course they're going to shut down. The walls are going to feel like they don't do anything right. And so I love the way you phrase that. I think that's amazing. Everyone, we'll have it in the blog on the website. So you can just go and copy and paste for your family text.
And it's funny when I sent it, everybody was like, oh, like, how'd your family respond? And I'll be honest, my family did not respond. So just everyone should know that nobody texted back. Nobody responded. And then no one said anything while we were there.
What an amazing holiday.
You might not get and this is also too, like everybody's family is so different. And also it's so hard because I think a lot of times, especially when we are trying to break cycles and change conversations within our own families, we're hurt and it's upsetting. A lot of our family members aren't trying to be, they literally don't know better.
Yeah.
Like we have to think about like, how were they brought up? Who said, anytime body comments are made, this is also a good reminder for us because, we all think things. You can't say like, don't judge because we're going to judge, but you can, in the moment of judgment, I've said this on your podcast, the first thing we think is what is ingrained. The second thing we think or what we do after that is who we want to be. Right. Yeah. So we're judge, but then we get to shut ourselves down. Like, oh, wait, why do I care what she's wearing? That's none of my business. I don't even know her. Right. Like, oh, so-and-so's body. Why do I care? That's none of my business. And so people who talk about other people's bodies, and we know this, we just have to remember this. It's everything to do with their body.
Yeah.
And so I always think like, how did they grow up? What is ingrained in them? And so not trying to be right, like get angry. I'm just trying to create awareness. Like, oh yeah, maybe I shouldn't say this. And even when you have these conversations, and a lot of times you're not going to get the response you want. Like, you are so right. I am so sorry. Yeah. Oh, thank you. You're what we want people to. But a lot of times people might shut down or people just might not respond. But the fact is, you've planted the seed and now they're thinking about it. So you need to go in with, I'm just trying to create awareness, not get the response I need.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's really amazing to understand our expectations, to manage our expectations so that it can be a change. And I thank you for updating us on how it went, which is that no one said anything about bodies, and what a cool Christmas.
Exactly. It's a reminder to shut it down. Gosh, what were they saying? I don't know. I don't think I actually ended up posting this. I made a video of it because after I went to lunch, there was a group of women and somebody made a comment about like bathing suits and their bodies and trying on. And then I was like, this is not the lunch I signed up for. Like, I came to talk with some awesome, powerful women and like, we're all fabulous. And you know what? And I looked at my friend and I said, are you an able body? Are you healthy? Do you feel good? And she's like, yeah. And then I'm like, great. Let's start respecting that. And you know what? I got more important things to talk about than what we look like in bathing suits, because I think we all look fabulous. And what's really going on? How's your marriage? Right? It's like a lot of times too, when we're talking about body and food, it's because we don't want to talk about the real stuff. Yeah. And I don't want to sit around with a bunch of women and talk about how fat we are. Like, how big your ass is, how you don't like, I want to be able to support each other in a really positive way. And so it's like, okay, you're not feeling good in your body. What's really going on? Like, let's really talk about it.
Yeah. I like how you make it a fun joke and then like kind of just like bring it to people's attention. Cause it's one of those things, it's like a domino effect. Someone says something, then someone else goes something. And like, let's just be really honest. I don't know who the fit models are for bathing suits, but you're never, just pick the size that fits you and don't just tear the tag out, ladies. Like it doesn't matter that you don't get to buy the small or the medium because no one sees the tag on the outside. Just pick the bathing suit that makes you feel good and let it go and be I love that you call it able body. We forget that we have the ability to get out into the pool and go run around and go swim. And so like that's the least of our worries. It's like if we look good enough in a bathing suit, no one's paying attention to you looking in a bathing suit.
And most people don't, I'm going to be honest, like there's some staggering statistic, like 90 something % of women dislike their body. I mean, it's gut wrenching.
Yeah.
And so like, what are we doing to change that? You know what we need to do? We need to show up in our body today.
Yeah.
Like that's what we need to do. And we need to stop basing our conversations with other women around how much we hate our bodies. Our kids don't grow up and are like, you know what? I'm really glad my mom never got in a bathing suit. I talk a lot about moms because I am a mom. And I do believe that moms, and I'm in a very progressive marriage, but I mean, I'm going to be honest, I run this house, right? And like our energy, and it's statistically known also that if we're talking about women, I do speak to women, but this goes for girls and boys. Our kids' body image is directly affected to a mother's body image. And so if we want our children to have, and I have a lot of moms that say, well, I don't ever talk bad about my body in front of my kids. Bullshit. It's an energy. Like we possess it. And our kids know, like how we show up in our body is an energy. And so, and how we change that conversation is we have to, and when I say this, I don't wake up every day like, I'm amazing. My body is perfect. Like I'm 30 pounds heavier than I was when I probably technically, right, like looked my best according to society, but my body image was worse because I was so obsessed with food and body that it took me out of living my life. Now I'm heavier, but I am at my healthiest. I feel so strong and I'm confident in the way that if I'm having a bad body image day, I will still put on the shorts and I will still go out into the world.
Yeah.
Like I will show up in my body every single day because I can, even when I don't want to. And I think that's really what it's about. And it's about showing my girls that there is all these different size bodies. And my kids are not going to grow up and say, I'm really glad my mom never got in the water. I'm really glad my mom covered her arms and her thighs and never showed her belly. No kid is going to say that. And so I don't care if you wear a muumuu, a bikini, a one piece, like show up to your life in your body, show up with your kids, get in the freaking water. And who cares? Like I did a whole thing about spring break and going with like, a lot of times you go to spring break with other families and you're so worried about the other moms and what they look like in their body and what they're going to think. Well, guess what? They're worried about the same shit. It's like, just put on the freaking suit, go get in the pool and eat a burger by the pool and have some fun with your family and your friends.
Yeah.
We're missing out on our lives because we're so obsessed about what other people think of our bodies.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Clearly we could keep going. I love when we get together. I really wish I had an excuse to go walk with you on the beach again in Santa Barbara like we did. That was the best time. Okay. Y'all are going to just follow her, but we're going to find out where we follow her and her beat action items for us in just a brief second. All right, Jenny. So people are going to want to binge out on all of your content. They want to like literally get all of this reminders all the time because my goodness, I agree. Ladies, please keep showing up and showing yourself out there in the world. It doesn't have to be on social media because it helps people see all the different beauties that are out there. But where can people find you, follow you, and connect with you?
Thank you. Yeah. Instagram is my biggest platform. So come to my Instagram. I answer all my DMs. So if you have questions, please message me. I love to hear from you guys. Yeah. And I hope that we are all here for the conversation and we're out there breaking the cycle because it is not easy. This is one of the hardest things. I tell everybody, I'm 10 years sober and this is way harder than getting sober, right? It's like learning to accept your body and who you are. But every single listener out there, every time you show up as your authentic self, you give women around you permission to do the same.
Yeah, you do, like there's so much that you have taught me from before I had you on the pod, from when I just got to know you and what to follow you, and then the different times we've been able to experience you. You're right. There are certain things that are ingrained in us, and I'll say it or I'll hear it and go, hold on, that's actually not how I feel about myself. That's not how I want to feel. And you help me be it till I see it. So I know you're going to help our listeners. Before I let you go, bold, executable, intrinsic, targeted steps people can take to be it till they see it. What do you have for us?
Oh, I love it. Okay. 1, the breath. We went over there. That was a huge tool. It doesn't cost you anything. You can do it at any time. 2, we both have this tool. Set your freaking timers. All right. Let's get on the top. Let's like start something. We're going to start.
Let's do a timer challenge.
Do a challenge. Like we'll come up with it together, make it official.
Yes. Yes.
And then the third thing is, and I'm just going to be honest, this is, again, it sounds like a cheesy self-help thing and it's changed my life. People, you got to journal. Mm-hmm. I'm coming out with a 90 ways in 90 days, and it's 90 days of body image journal prompts.
Oh, I love this.
Yeah, so keep your eye out on that. But even before that, people throw this tool away it's so funny. I think a lot of times we make things harder than they need to be.
Yeah, because I'm going to tell you, my listeners are going to want to know what should they journal?
My journal is 90 ways in 90 days to love your body. And so, but for now, until that comes out, for now, again, set your timer. Okay, here's what you're going to do. Sit down, do your breath, set your timer for 5 minutes, and literally write everything that's going on in your head. I call it free writing. It's just, even if you're writing, I don't know what to write, the thoughts will start to come out. It's 5 minutes. Don't worry about grammar. Don't worry about punctuation. This is, again, one of such an easy tool that doesn't cost money, that will literally 5 minutes a day. It can change your life, and it boosts creativity. If you're feeling stuck, not only in your body, but in work or in your family or in your relationships, guaranteed, if you were to start free writing 5 minutes a day in 30 days, things would be different.
I agree. Okay. I can't wait for your journal to come out. You have to let me know so I can promote it here on the pod and share with people. And
I'll send you.
Oh, please. Please. I'm so in. I love a good prompt. And I actually think that there's so many journals out there that are prompting us about mantras and affirmations, but like this is the journal that all these women are needing. And imagine what's going to happen. Oh my God, I can't wait. There's got to be a 90-day challenge. We're going to have to do that too. So just let me know when we're all signing up for that. Jenny Schatzle, every time I see you, you just bring so much joy to my heart and my light. And it no matter where my level of vibration was, which is already in a great spot, I'm already in another spot, and I've learned so much from you. So thank you for being the woman that you are and really helping all of us. And I'm not kidding. My entire agency community like follows you, and we put you in this one channel because you also have helped, for Pilates instructors, we want to say things that are going to be helpful for our clients. And so in that channel, the girl was like, instead of saying like, oh, you look like you've lost weight, which is a thing that a Pilates instructor or a gym teacher could end up saying to people. And in that environment would used to be considered appropriate. But instead it's like, oh, you look so strong today. Oh, I love how you did this exercise. Wow. You're so fun to be around. Your energy is amazing in class. Like all of those things are super complimentary, make people feel so seen and have nothing to do with their actual body, like what it looks like, which is so great. So you have really been such a part of our lives in that way. So thank you. Y'all, how are you going to use these tips in your life? Please let Jenny Schatzle know, tag the Be It Pod, and you send this to a friend. Send this to the friend who's complaining about her bathing suit, so that she can hear it from us instead of you. If you don't feel comfortable telling her yet, right? And so thank you so much, everyone. And until next time, be it till you see it.
That's all I got for this episode of the Be It Till You See It podcast. One thing that would help both myself and future listeners is for you to rate the show and leave a review. And follow or subscribe for free wherever you listen to your podcast. Also, make sure to introduce yourself over at the Be It Pod on Instagram. I would love to know more about you. Share this episode with whoever you think needs to hear it. Help us and others be it till you see it. Have an awesome day.
Be It Till You See It is a production of the Bloom Podcast Network. If you want to leave us a message or a question that we might read on another episode, you can text us at +1 310 905 5534 or send a DM on Instagram at BeItPod.
It's written, filmed, and recorded by your host, Lesley Logan, and me, Brad Crowell.
It is transcribed, produced, and edited by the epic team at Disenyo.co.
Our theme music is by Ali at Apex Production Music, and our branding by designer and artist Gianfranco Cioffi.
Special thanks to Melissa Solomon for creating our visuals.
Also to Angelina Herrico for adding all of our content to our website. And finally, to Meredith Root for keeping us all on point and on time.